on, guys? Ahmed back with another video. Here to talk to you about French Montana's album. I mentioned it in the last video or a couple videos ago, and I'm here to talk about it now. So this is the new French Montana album called Montega. Producer collaborator was Henry Ford, and I'm just gonna get right into it. Oh, and just for context, I think I explained this a couple videos ago, but I'm not. I wasn't a French Montana fan going into this project. Um, I didn't hate the guy. I wasn't like opposed to his music or whatever, but I just kind of viewed him as like kind of like a pop rap sort of guy who sort of is a more of an A&R guy who just sort of put stuff together and make hits. And I think I never really viewed him as really taking anybody's spot, but he had a lane and he dominated that lane and pooh. So wasn't expecting that much going into this album, but man, this album really was incredible. I was really impressed with a lot of the stuff that went on this project. And it was a very solid body of work, and it could even stand up, maybe not to the top 5, but definitely to the top 10 of New York right now. And this is probably, I got to go back and maybe listen to his catalog, but this is the best I've heard of French, and this is the best I've heard of French in a like ever, like actually just ever. And I was already kind of like warming up to him with When We Get a Bag that came out last summer, but this is like he really stepped it up, and it's almost like a different. It's almost like he's on a different mission. It's not even like he took what he had and made it better. He's like onto different. He's into a different lane now. So let's get into it. I'm just gonna go, and instead of going track by track like I normally do, I'm just gonna go and give y'all each criteria that I have and then why I like it from those criteria. So let's get into it. So first we gotta talk about the I think the biggest jump, right? The biggest overt jump for me was the writing, and I'm still in between good and great. Um, and I'll get into that in a sec. But first, the market improvement from the stronger punchlines to the more to the more meaningful and more impactful bars, to him being more willing to open up about his own life. The progression that he has made from a writing perspective is very substantial. You see songs like Blue Chills, you see songs like Poetic Justice or Poetic and No Justice. You hear him talking about his tragedies and his general experience, and like this is a new level of attention to detail and a new level and a new focus, I feel like, really coming out of French here, that I have never ever seen before. Um, and it was honestly like quite impressive. Um, the of course the writing wasn't perfect, and I always say this is to the artists who want to go conscious, is like, that's fine, you can go conscious, but you don't just get claps for going conscious. You actually have to perform well in the conscious rap lane, right? And it's the same thing with Fabio, right? Of course we respect these people for it being their first crack at going down the conscious lane, but there's levels to this shit, right? There's Polo G, and then there's Conway and Kendrick and though and Lupe Fiasco. Uh, there's and I guess Kanye. You know the people at the top of the conscious lane. There's levels to this, and while I do feel like French Montana shows impressive depth. Impressive range of topics. I would like to see a little bit more detail, um, and a little bit more personal experience. Um, but it like I said, it was an absolutely an improvement from anything I've ever heard, and it felt like he was really trying to take us through his day to day. That's really how I felt. What he goes through, how he feels. Um, And on the flip side, also, it wasn't like, the more braggadocio tracks were bad either. The punchlines were still good, they still hit. And it was fascinating to sort of see his it's weird because, like, I don't think that he necessarily became complex, but his punchlines just got more, they just increased in potency, if that makes sense. um and I really enjoyed that sort of ascension, and I found that to be absolutely fascinating from somebody, again, who for the longest time, like, really has been in the pop rap lane, and like it hasn't him, what he says has never been the biggest deal in the world, but now it's a real, like, strong point of this record. That being said, there were still a few corny bars, here and there, that you're gonna find on a French Montana project. And like I said earlier, he didn't exactly, he went down the conscious lane, but he didn't really um dig into it as well as maybe other people could, or I say he didn't set himself apart in the way that I believe other people do. Um, and also the fact that he never really had much in the way of complexity or like difficult over the head bars that were really hard to understand. I feel like I'll give this I'm still in between good and great, because I feel like it was definitely better than the Bible in terms of from a writing perspective, because it was more focused. Um, and you really felt like X song was about this and another song was about this, and it didn't really feel no song felt like miscellaneous or without purpose. But I also wouldn't put it, I also wouldn't put it on the level of a Don Q, maybe, because Don Q has these dense rhyme schemes that he, sort of adds on top of his substance, that makes it a lot more compelling. Um, and flow, this was, I think, the biggest letdown of the record, if I have to be honest. And it really kicked in the beginning of the record, where I felt like there were definitely moments where he was like Frank, just rapping off beat. And it really, like, I feel like the punchlines would have hit a lot harder, and everything would have landed a little bit better if the flows were stronger. But I felt like there were times where he was either not doing anything special with the flow, or just frankly rapping off beat. Towards the end of the record, and also he does this thing where he switches his flow and delivery like way too much, and it's like he'll get into a pocket that I'm like a fan of, and then he'll just immediately do something else. I'm like, damn, like if you had just stayed there for like a cool 16 or a cool 8, then you would have been good. But I feel like a lot of times he kind of, it's almost like he's like shuffling between flows, and that's definitely a bit weird for me, and a bit disappointing, because I felt like if you just make that change and just, I feel this way with a lot of artists, if you just listen back to your music and hear, is the pocket good? Am I in the right pocket right now? Is the writing is good, the lyrics is good, but am I in the right pocket? Are the punchlines landing the way I want them to land? I definitely felt like the flow could have been stronger. It picked up towards the end of the record, but not enough for me to feel like it gets higher than a mid. The production was absolutely the strongest part of the record for me. Harry Ford, he has made stuff for a lot of different New Yorkers. I'm kind of seeing now. He has stuff with Benny the Butcher. I know he has stuff with a few other New York artists. He really killed this. And I feel like French Montana, like this was sort of French Montana's way of addressing his contributions to the game and what he's been through and how much he's accomplished. And it felt like a bit of a victory lap album, but the instrumentals really helped fill in that gap, where sometimes French wasn't always able to do it lyrically, but it almost didn't matter because the instrumentals were so grand and intense, um, that like it 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 really captured your attention, and really like it made everything hit a lot harder, and it puts you in an atmosphere. That was the thing that really got me, was that it puts you in an atmosphere of like, wow, this is this is a piece of music, right? This is not just a guy rapping over a beat. This is a piece of art. This is a piece of music that I can sit down and appreciate. And that was very, 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 very strong point. Henry Ford killed it. I almost want to go and I want to see what else Henry Ford is doing. I want to now. I got to listen to his album, the plug I met with Benny the Butcher. I gotta hear me some Henry Ford, because that guy, production wise, he goes crazy, and he really pushed this album to be amazing. The features were absolutely amazing as well. Um, all of the features were really strong. I felt like there was not really a miss really at all. And I love the people who he called upon. I felt like he called upon people from like every era, from Benny the Butcher to Rick Ross to Jadakiss to Babyface Ray, ESTG, like everybody, he got a diverse cast of features, and he really did his thing. The only feature I wasn't really a fan of was the Quavo feature. I didn't know his flow was just kind of off to me, to be honest. But it's whatever. Like I said, most of the features was incredible. The Benny feature, I love to hear these Benny features, and Benny is absolutely making his case for King of New York right now. The Rick Ross feature was incredible. I felt like it was weird. The ESTG feature was weird because I felt like Benny the Butcher, not Benny the Butcher, French Montana, his verse on that song could have been better, but then ESTG kind of uses the flow that I wish French would have used, and that was kind of an interesting dynamic. Going and also going back to the flows right quick, I just want to quickly mention that the auto tune riffs that he kind of did. I think when it was minimal, it was fine, but I think when he really tried to stretch it and really tried to like hold a note, it was like like it like I said, it made for a cool effect when it was just like this echoey kind of thing. But when he really tried to like pull his Travis Scott, that's when I kind of felt like it didn't maybe have the intended effect that it would have wanted. I think Keep It Real was one of those examples where like some of the auto tune was good, but some of it was just too much. But yeah, the feature game was incredible, and the musical execution was good. I wouldn't uh put it like as great, just because, and this I think this kind of goes back to the flows, and that like it's not necessarily something that I can just like just sit back and lay back and appreciate, because some of the punchlines maybe don't hit as hard as we would have liked. But it absolutely, from the beats to the writing to some of these choruses that are really enjoyable, I think he absolutely does a really good job with creating a good strong body of work, and not necessarily hits, but and just enjoyable music that people can enjoy, um and people can feel. And I think also his switch up on delivery really helped. When he was talking about something deeper, he would get into a more serious delivery, versus maybe on a Rushmore Pack, which is my favorite song off the album. He was sort of like laughing, having a good time, whatever it is. And so I would say that was the musical execution side for me. Like I said, wasn't like outstanding. I wasn't like every song is da 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 da, but it was absolutely um an enjoyable record to listen to, and I felt at least a little bit of fun from most of the tracks. Um, I uh, I also, the good could rise to great. I think some of the songs I may need to listen to more and may need to grow on me. So I also want to see how that goes for me. So definitely, again, you all will see at my top 10, who I see is top 10 in New York right now, who I see and who I put. But for now, I'm gonna put the musical execution is great, are good. And then overall, I give it a great rating. Again, I'm still, as long with the writing, I'm still in between good and great. But I do feel like you know, again, looking at my criterias, there's definitely a couple of amazings on here, good, and there's no bads. So I do definitely feel like he definitely did his thing on here, and I'm definitely really impressed and proud of what he was able to accomplish. Because you know, it's French Montana never really, I think, got the respect that he felt like he deserved, and I feel like he may. I think it's one thing to sit back and say, I deserve respect, give me this respect. But it's another thing to sit back and say, okay, I'm gonna make these people respect me. I'm gonna put something out that's immaculate and strong, and I'm gonna make the people respect me. And I feel like he did sort of he took that approach, which was really nice to see and hear. So overall, I would absolutely consider this a great record. In terms of the rankings, if you remember, I made that top 50, sorry, top the best albums and the worst albums so far. I think I would put this album at one, two, three, for fifth place, I believe. Yeah, I would definitely put this at fifth place. So I would put it in between. I think it's not as good as Corleone, but I think it's definitely better than the Be Love project. So I would put it at sixth. But overall, really strong project. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Like I said, with my last video, I'm going to leave my Instagram down in the comment in the description. So until we get enough subscribers to where y'all can leave comments, feel free to DM me on Instagram to let me know what you all thought of this album. Did you all enjoy it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know, because I'm down. And please subscribe, because I want to be able to interact with you guys, right? I want to be able to interact with you guys, but I can't do that unless I get, you know, enough subscribers. So please subscribe, like the video, and share it. So yeah, have a good day, y'all. Peace.